Power is one of the most misunderstood words in our society. The moment we hear the word, most people think of politics, wealth, manipulation, or control. But power is not just about money or dominance. Real power is psychological. It is the ability to influence how people think, how they feel, and how they behave without even raising your voice. It is the silent energy that makes people respect you, follow you, and listen to you. Some people walk into a room and instantly change the atmosphere. Others talk for hours, but nobody listens. The difference lies in understanding the laws of power that govern human psychology. Today, I want to share with you 7 of those laws. They are not tricks. They are not cheap tactics. They are timeless truths about how the human mind works. And if you understand them, you will never look at relationships, leadership, or influence the same way again. The first law of power is the law of perception. People don't respond to reality, they respond to their perception of reality. In simple words, it doesn't matter how talented you are, how intelligent you are, or how capable you are. What matters is how people perceive you. A person can be a genius, but if he looks insecure, speaks with hesitation, and carries himself without confidence, people will underestimate him. On the other hand, someone with average intelligence but strong presence, calm tone, and clarity in communication will be perceived as powerful. Perception creates belief, and belief creates reality. If you want power, you must learn to shape perception. Never allow people to define your value. Define it yourself by the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the way you handle situations. The second law is the law of silence. We live in a noisy world where everyone is talking, posting, shouting for attention. But true power doesn't need to scream. Silence is powerful because it creates mystery. When you say less, people wonder more. Silence makes others uncomfortable. It forces them to reveal themselves. It gives you control over the rhythm of the conversation. Imagine 2 people negotiating. One talks nonstop, trying to convince, trying to justify, while the other listens calmly, speaks only when necessary, and keeps a poker face. Who has more power? The silent one, because silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It signals that you are not desperate for approval, you are not afraid to hold your ground, and you are not easily manipulated. When you master silence, people lean in. They want to know what you think, what you feel, what you plan. That curiosity gives you psychological control. The third law of power is the law of detachment. This may sound strange, but the less you need people, the more powerful you become. Most of the time, we lose power because of attachment to people, to outcomes, to validation. When you're too eager, too available, too dependent, you give others the upper hand. They can sense your desperation, and desperation kills respect. Detachment does not mean you don't care. It means you are secure in yourself. You want the relationship, but you don't need it. You desire success, but you don't beg for it. You love deeply, but you don't lose yourself in that love. This creates a paradox. The more detached you are, the more people chase you, respect you, and value your presence. Because power is not about holding on tightly, it is about showing that you can walk away if your worth is not recognized. The fourth law is the law of emotional control. Power is lost the moment you lose your temper. Think about the times you got angry, shouted, or reacted without thinking. In that moment, you gave your power away. Emotional control is one of the strongest indicators of inner strength. When people try to provoke you, when situations test your patience, when circumstances shake your emotions, how you respond determines your power. If you are calm when others are panicking, if you smile when others are losing control, if you speak with clarity when others are shouting, you instantly rise above the crowd. Emotional control is rare because our egos want to react, but true power is restraint. It's knowing that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove yourself in every battle. Sometimes silence, sometimes a smile, sometimes simply walking away is more powerful than 1,000 words. The fifth law of power is the law of scarcity. Whatever is rare becomes valuable. This is not only about money or material things. This is about your time, your attention, your energy. If you give yourself too freely, people will take you for granted. But if you are selective, if you make people earn your time, if you protect your energy, people will respect you. Scarcity creates value. Think about luxury items. Why do they cost so much? Not because they are always better, but because they are rare. Apply the same to your personality. Don't be available to everyone at every time. Don't say yes to everything. Don't waste your attention on things that drain you. When your presence is scarce, your presence becomes powerful. People start to see you as someone special, someone not easily accessible, someone who must be respected. The sixth law is the law of unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to control. When others know exactly how you will react, how you will feel, how you will respond, they can manipulate you. But when you introduce an element of unpredictability, people can't put you in a box. They can't play games with you because they don't know your next move. This doesn't mean you become inconsistent or unreliable. It means you keep a part of yourself private. You don't reveal your every thought, your every plan, your every weakness. You surprise people. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you disagree, sometimes you show warmth, sometimes you stay distant. This unpredictability makes people cautious, makes them respect your boundaries, and makes them realize that you are not someone they can easily control. Power lies in keeping people on their toes, never fully certain, always curious. The seventh law of power is the law of self-mastery. Before you can influence others, you must first influence yourself. Before you can control situations, you must control your own mind. Self-mastery means discipline. It means waking up when you don't feel like it, working when you don't feel motivated, staying calm when your emotions want to explode, speaking wisely when your ego wants to dominate. It means training your mind, your body, and your emotions to serve you rather than control you. Every great leader, every powerful personality you admire mastered themselves first. Because if you cannot command yourself, you cannot command respect. Power starts inside. It is not about the external world. It is about the inner world. When you have mastered your thoughts, your impulses, your desires, you walk with an aura that cannot be ignored. People sense it, even without words. They can feel that you are different, that you are not a slave to circumstances, that you carry yourself with authority from within. These 7 laws are not tricks to manipulate others. They are principles to build true psychological strength. When you understand perception, when you master silence, when you practice detachment, when you control your emotions, when you create scarcity, when you embrace unpredictability, and when you achieve self-mastery, you don't just gain power over others, you gain power over life itself. You become someone people look up to, someone people cannot ignore, someone people follow willingly. And that is the highest form of power. Power is not something you chase, it is something you embody. The mistake most people make is they think if they gather money, if they get a position, or if they achieve status, power will automatically come to them. But how many wealthy people do you know who are still disrespected? How many people in high positions are laughed at behind their backs? That is because external things can give you authority, but they cannot give you power. Authority is assigned, but power is felt. Power is in your energy, in your presence, in your psychology. When you embody these laws, People will respect you even if you have no title. They will listen to you even if you don't shout. They will follow you even if you don't ask them to. One of the most powerful things you can do is learn to master the pause in conversations, in conflicts, in decision making. When you pause, you are sending a message that you are in control. Most people react instantly. They rush into answers. They panic under pressure. But when you pause, you show that you are calm, that you are processing, that you are not driven by impulse. That pause alone creates authority. People start to trust your judgment because you are not reckless. The pause is a hidden weapon of power. Another dimension of power is how you use your presence in a room. There are people who enter and immediately seek attention. They laugh too loudly, they speak too much, they try too hard. And then there are people who enter quietly, but their posture, their eye contact, their calmness makes others turn towards them. Presence is not about volume, it is about energy. The way you carry yourself, the way you look at people, the way you listen, it all communicates power without words. If you want to be powerful, focus less on what you say and more on how you make others feel when you are around. Sometimes the most powerful act is walking away. People think power means always winning, always controlling, always dominating. But true strength is knowing when something is beneath you, when a conversation is not worth your energy, when a relationship is draining you, when an argument will only waste your peace. Walking away does not mean weakness. It means you have options. It shows that you value yourself enough not to stay where your worth is ignored. This kind of self-respect is magnetic because people realize they cannot take you for granted. Control over your focus is another silent law of power. Wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. Most people waste their focus on gossip, distractions, and negativity. They spread their energy too thin and then wonder why they feel powerless. Powerful people are selective with their focus. They don't react to everything. They don't get involved in every drama. They know where to place their attention and where not to. This focus makes them stand out because in a world full of distraction, the one who is focused becomes unstoppable. And when we talk about power, we must also talk about influence. Influence is not about convincing people with logic all the time. Human beings are emotional creatures and they are moved by feelings more than facts. You may have the strongest argument in the room, but if someone else makes people feel heard, valued, and understood, they will hold more influence than you. Power is not always about being right. It's about creating emotional resonance. That's why the people who listen more than they talk, who observe before they act, often end up controlling the direction of conversations. They don't impose, they guide, they don't force, they inspire. Another dimension of psychological power is patience. Impatient people reveal themselves too quickly. They expose their desires, they show their fears, they become predictable. Patience, on the other hand, is a shield. When you are patient, you can wait for the right moment. You don't rush into opportunities that are not ready. You don't get provoked into reactions that cost you respect. You don't demand things before their time. Patience allows you to see the bigger picture. And when others are restless, you remain steady. That steadiness itself becomes a form of power because it shows you are not controlled by time. You control time by your composure. Then there is the power of presence in silence, not just the silence of words, but the silence of energy. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and without saying anything, everyone notices? That's not luck. That's cultivated presence. It comes comes from alignment of the inner self, when you know who you are, when you are not seeking constant approval, when you carry yourself with authenticity, people can feel it. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense that you are not ordinary. This presence cannot be faked for long. It is the result of inner work, of self-respect, of emotional balance. One of the most underestimated aspects of power is how you handle disrespect. Many people think the way to prove strength is by reacting aggressively, by showing anger, by fighting back. But the truth is, the moment you react to disrespect, you put yourself on the same level as the one disrespecting you. Power is in restraint. Power is in showing that their behavior does not shake your ground. Power is in making them realize that their actions are too small to disturb your peace. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response, because indifference to disrespect communicates louder than anger ever could. And there is also the law of narrative. The one who controls the story controls the power. Every relationship, every organization, every society runs on stories. Stories about what is right, what is valuable, what is possible. If you want power, you must understand the importance of shaping narratives. In personal relationships, if you always play the victim, you give the other person the role of savior or oppressor. But if you shape your narrative as someone resilient, someone strong, someone in control, people will treat you differently. Narratives define perception, and perception defines power. Power also lies in how much you reveal and how much you conceal. When you reveal everything about yourself, your weaknesses, your struggles, your plans, people can use that information against you. But when you keep a part of yourself hidden, you create intrigue. Mystery makes people curious, and curiosity keeps their attention. If everyone knows exactly what you are going to do next, you become predictable. But when you share only what is necessary, when you let people wonder about your next move, you gain psychological leverage. People respect what they cannot fully figure out because the unknown always carries weight. There is also the power of consistency. Human beings trust patterns. When you are consistent in your values, in your principles, in the way you carry yourself, people feel secure in your presence. They know that you are not swayed by every trend, not shaken by every rumor, not moved by every opinion. Consistency builds credibility, and credibility is a foundation of power. Without consistency, no matter how talented you are, people won't take you seriously because they cannot rely on someone who changes with every breeze. But when you are stable, when your actions align with your words, when your behavior matches your principles, you naturally become someone others respect and follow. Another layer of power is how you manage scarcity, not just in your presence, but in your words. People who talk endlessly lose impact. The more you say, the less weight your words carry. But when you choose your words carefully, when you speak less but with precision, people listen more closely. Imagine two leaders. One talks constantly, the other speaks rarely but with impact. The second leader will always hold more psychological authority. This is why restraint in communication matters. When your words are scarce, they become valuable. People anticipate what you will say next, and that anticipation itself is power. Control over reactions is equally important. When someone insults you, criticizes you, or tries to provoke you, your reaction determines who holds the power. If you explode in anger, you are giving them control. If you defend yourself too eagerly, you are giving them validation. But if you stay calm, if you smile, if you remain composed, you are silently declaring that their words do not define you. This not only frustrates the one who tried to trigger you, but it also makes others see you as unshakable. The one who cannot be shaken always holds the upper ground. Power also comes from the ability to adapt. Rigidity breaks, flexibility survives. The world is constantly changing, people are evolving, situations are unpredictable. If you are too rigid, if you cannot adjust, you will lose relevance. But if you can adapt without losing your core identity, you become unstoppable. Adaptability does not mean compromise, it means strategy. It means knowing when to bend and when to stand firm, when to adjust your approach and when to hold your line. Those who master adaptability hold silent power because no matter what storm comes, they find a way to remain standing. And if you observe carefully, power is not about dominating others, it is about mastering the art of self-respect. When you respect yourself deeply, you automatically set boundaries. People test those boundaries all the time, but the way you respond shows them how far they can go. If you allow constant disrespect, you train people to treat you that way. If you stand firm, calmly but clearly, you train people to respect you. Boundaries are invisible walls that protect your dignity, your energy, and your worth. Without them, people will walk all over you. With them, even the most difficult personalities will think twice before crossing the line. Another overlooked dimension of power is the way you manage your emotional energy in relationships. Most people pour too much energy into proving themselves, into chasing validation, into begging for acknowledgement. But powerful people don't do that. They allow their presence, their actions, and their silence to speak. They don't argue endlessly to prove they are right. They live in such a way that their results prove them right. They don't try to convince people to stay. They create such value that people fear losing them. That shift of energy from chasing to attracting changes the entire dynamic. You stop being the one who needs approval, and you become the one whose approval others seek. Influence also grows when you practice the law of calm authority. You don't have to shout to be respected. You don't have to be aggressive to be taken seriously. Calmness itself is a sign of power. A calm voice in chaos, a steady presence in crisis, a composed response in conflict. These are things people never forget. When everyone else is reacting emotionally and you remain grounded, people naturally look to you for guidance. They feel safe in your steadiness. That quiet strength is what makes people trust you more than those who are loud but unstable. And let's not forget the power of withdrawing attention. Attention is a currency. Whoever you give your attention to, you empower. That is why ignoring someone who disrespects you is often more powerful than confronting them. Because when you argue, you give them energy. When you fight, you make them important. But when you withdraw your attention completely, you make them invisible. That silence cuts deeper than any words. People crave attention, whether positive or negative. And when you deny them that power, you hold the upper hand. Another dimension is the discipline of self-investment. People think power comes from controlling others, but the deepest power comes from controlling yourself and constantly improving. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every discipline you practice adds to your aura because people can sense when you are knowledgeable, when you are skilled, when you have trained yourself. They feel it without you bragging about it. That's why the most powerful people are usually the most prepared. They don't just show up, they show up with excellence, and excellence commands respect without words. There is also a quiet power in the way you use your eyes. Eye contact is not just about looking at someone, it is about projecting confidence without saying a word. Too much eye contact makes you look aggressive, too little makes you look insecure. But balanced, steady, calm eye contact communicates presence. It shows you are not intimidated, you are not desperate, and you are fully aware of yourself. People often reveal their state of mind through their eyes before their words. That is why those who master their gaze often dominate the energy in the room. Power is also found in the ability to listen deeply. Most people listen only to respond, not to understand. They are so busy preparing their reply that they miss the essence of what is being said. But when you listen with full attention, you make the other person feel valued. And when people feel heard, they are more open to your influence. Listening is not weakness, it is strategy. It allows you to gather information, to understand motives, to see through masks. In silence and listening, you gain knowledge, and knowledge is a form of power. Another element of psychological power is how you handle failure. Weak minds collapse under failure, but strong minds use it as fuel. People respect those who fall but rise again without bitterness. Every time you recover from a setback, you build invisible credibility. Others may not say it out loud, but they admire the resilience. Resilience is magnetic because it proves that you cannot be broken easily. And people naturally follow those who can withstand storms without losing themselves. Even your environment reflects your power. If your surroundings are chaotic, messy, or careless, it communicates something about your inner state. But when your environment shows order, discipline, and intention, people subconsciously feel your authority. Power is not just in big gestures, it is in small details. The way you dress, the way you sit, the way you organize your space, all of it creates impressions that shape how others perceive your strength. There is also a law of emotional distance. If you are too emotionally involved in every situation, you lose clarity. But if you can take a step back, if you can look at things from a higher perspective, you see patterns others miss. Emotional distance allows you to make decisions not from impulse, but from strategy. It gives you the ability to read the situation without drowning in it. And when you can do that, people start to see you as wiser, more reliable, more capable of leadership. So when we strip everything down, power is not about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. It is not about being louder. It is about being wiser. It is not about forcing respect. It is about living in such a way that respect becomes inevitable. If you understand perception, if you value silence, if you master detachment, if you guard your emotions, if you protect your energy, if you remain unpredictable, and if you keep disciplining yourself, you will not need to chase power because power will follow you. The strongest message here is simple. Never beg for influence. Never run after approval. Never compromise your dignity. Build yourself until your presence speaks before your words do. True power is not in what you demand. It is in what you naturally command.